Okay, so this one was a request I got a little while ago. The Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh. This is from Caleb. And funny thing is, I've mentioned my thoughts briefly on Winnie the Pooh, and they're this. I never had anything against it, but I never ever quite got into it the way so many other people did. I mean, people were in love with Winnie the Pooh. People still love it. And it's been a part of so many people's childhoods. And I read the books. I've seen some specials here and there. I've actually had a CD-ROM game of one of the shorts in this movie, but it never grabbed me. I can't really explain why. There's nothing wrong with it. I never had anything against it, never disliked it. It just never really caught my interest. But Winnie the Pooh was always very familiar to me. So I finally watched this movie, and I had seen parts of this movie before. I do not remember where, don't remember when. One of them I remember from a CD-ROM game, but I knew the songs. My favorite's the Tigger song, and he sings it a couple times in the film, so I thought, yes. I remember the Heffalumps and Woozles. I think it's because everyone says it's a Disney acid trip, which it is. I remembered a couple of the shorts. I remembered the performances. I know that one gif of Winnie the Pooh sitting at a table. And overall, it is charming. It's laid back. It's really likable. It's got this Alice in Wonderland feel because it's not really one coherent story. It's a bunch of shorts tied together by a narrator reading a book, and they play with the book in the fourth wall, which is tons of fun. The visuals and the creativity that they have with it is a lot of fun to look at. And the songs are really, really catchy. It's by the Sherman Brothers. I will admit, while there is part of me that really appreciates old 70s animation, I wasn't really into the animation as much because I'm not a big fan of this sketchy style of animation. It's more prominent in Jungle Book, and that's another one that really could never capture my interest as a kid. And here it's similar. You can see several times where the cleanup lines are still pretty rough. And I know Disney was talented. The artists, of course, were very, very talented. But it is distracting to me to constantly see some of the cleanup lines still in there. Some of the in-betweens are still there, and oftentimes characters look pretty inconsistent. There's, you see extra lines from frame to frame. I found that pretty distracting. But the shorts were likable. They transitioned well. All the characters have their quirks in the 100 Acre Wood. Christopher Robin's adorable. Has a very British feel to it. I think A.A. Milne is British. You know what? I'm gonna look that up. The performances, some of them, I think Christopher Robin in particular has a British accent. A.A. Milne. Yep. A.A. Milne, he was British, so that would explain a lot of it. And I like that room in the beginning. There's a live action room in the beginning before the Winnie the Pooh book is opened. It's very old school Disney, which is a ton of fun to see. I like that child's room. It was like looking at history, the way the toys looked, the architecture, the way that bedroom is put together, the design, the layout, everything felt, okay, this is 70s. A little bit of the 60s in there. So that was fun to see. I liked that. I would say I didn't really have a favorite short so much because I thought this is generally pretty pleasant. I will say Pooh Bear is a bit of a selfish jerk because he's inviting himself over to his friends' homes and eating their honey. And poor Rabbit. I felt so bad for Rabbit. Rabbit just wants his own space in order, and then Pooh's inviting himself over and eating everything in his house, and Tigger's messing up his garden. Poor Rabbit. And one thing I didn't understand, there was a short where the 100-Acre Woods is flooded and Owl loses his home. Eeyore finds him a new home, but he leads him to Piglet's house. Piglet can't bring himself to say that it's his house, so instead he just gives it to Owl and lives with Pooh Bear. That I didn't understand that. I thought, whoa, just tell him, he won't be offended. That one was confusing to me. And Piglet's treated as a hero for giving up his home when it was clear he didn't want to, and I thought, oh, that's sad. Piglet's okay. Someone should have stepped up and told Eeyore very politely that it was Piglet's house. That one, I wonder if there was a joke in there that I was missing. But that's the only thing that I wasn't quite getting. And maybe the joke was that they're too polite or too embarrassed to tell him the truth, so they're going for the extreme solution. Maybe that was the joke. Think. Missed that one. That was the one thing that I thought was very strange and out of place. But everything else, the friends are very quirky and cheerful, even though the characters have their selfish tendencies. Considering that they're children's toys and children can be very selfish, I thought it was very accurate. And hey, characters need flaws. They're still charming, they're still likable, they're still really funny. Their quirks work off each other really nicely. It's very laid back. Even with Tigger, who's a bundle of energy. It's charming. It's fun. There's a good balance of energy there. I would have liked to see more of Kanga. She's adorable. You get to see Roo in there. But I like Kanga. I thought she was really sweet and very likable. I would have liked to see her be in the action a bit more. There's always possibility for that in the future. Also, I did not remember Kanga's voice sounding the way it did. It sounded older and quite raspy, but I remembered it being higher pitched and a little more youthful. And almost kind of princessy. So that was a genuine shock to me. Sterling Holloway's Winnie the Pooh is great. The voice acting from all the other characters is great. I like the songs. It's got a nice feel to it. It's very accurate. Accurate to, I'd say, how a kid would play and how a kid would interact. The good parts, you get the cheerfulness, the naivete, but then you also get the selfishness and the imposing and not understanding these boundaries and not communicating that. So, felt very British. It's the best way I could describe it. There's very polite, kind of embarrassed nature about it, but also very charming and very distinct. I think I see why so many people took towards it, because it's very laid back overall, but it does have a ton of energy and personality and character. That's all very distinct from one another. So, yeah. I definitely had seen this before, but I don't remember where. Because I did not think I had seen this. But when I watched it, I recognized the opening song. I recognized some of the shorts. I remembered quite a bit about it. Even though I definitely don't remember ever watching it. Maybe it was the one CD-ROM game. Maybe that had more of the shorts in it than I expected. So, Winnie the Pooh. It's likable.